Clubhouse. Let's look into what it is, who's funded it, and where is it going. First, what is it? Well, basically, it's an audio-based social media app. Many people can go visit a room and listen to people talk, and you could raise your hand and actually participate in the conversation on that topic. Moderators can choose to call on you if you raised your hand or not. So think of it as listening to a podcast with 1,000 other people and saying, I'd like to contribute to the conversation, and then having a moderator that lets you do so. That's what it is. If you're like me, and you're a little older, maybe you remember AM radio where you could call in on the Talk Sports show and talk on the radio, and you would sit there and wait in your car on the phone for 20 minutes till they let you get in. It was on a 5-second delay in case you said a bad word. And then you could talk to the jock, the radio host, for a few minutes or a few seconds as they went through things, and they could hang up on you and go to the next guy really quick. It's sort of that in the digital age. It's not terribly complicated, but it's exploding. Let's take a look at the history. Clubhouse is less than a year old. Here we've got January 2020, when basically a little bit of seed capital comes together, and these two guys, Paul Davison and Rohan Seth, build the app. Paul Davison, you may remember, created something called Highlight. And Highlight was bought by Pinterest. So this gentleman is accustomed to being in the social media space, and he's also had an exit already. He gets together with Rohan Seth, and Clubhouse is born. Clubhouse started out with a launch only in April of last year, and it was only on iOS. In May, they received $10 million from Andreessen Horowitz. And they created a waiting list. So in other words, the initial buzz was created by depriving people of their ability to get something that was sounding interesting and was getting a little juice in the market, getting a little buzz, but you couldn't get in unless you were invited. And the invitation had to come from someone who was already in. And when there's only a few people and you didn't know any of them, that meant you were on the outside on a waiting list for a good while. Meanwhile, Silicon Valley insiders, people that knew each other, founders of companies, were jumping in, which was actually key because now you have a lot of high wattage individuals who know what they're talking about, are relatively famous sort of business celebrities, and they're the folks that you and I would want to hear talk about business topics or any other topic for that matter, and then have us be able to chime in with them. So the waiting list and who was getting in actually helps to seed future success. The app continues to gain just barely a little under 1 million users by the end of 2020. That was like November, December timeframe. And then suddenly, in January, it pops up to 2 million users. Now, a short time later, it blows the lid off. But what happened? Well, Elon Musk drops in. That's right, Elon Musk was in. He's one of the early users. And he imaginatively takes @Elon Musk @Clubhouse. I pointed out that the compression that happens these days when an app goes viral is actually compressing. The compression period to virality, where the amount of time it takes to grow compresses with the viral nature of an app, is phenomenal. Well, this has happened in just jet speed. Then, after raising only $10 million, they go out at a $1 billion valuation and raise $100 million, also involving Andreessen Horowitz. So wait a minute, let me see if I understand this. This thing was started with seed funding barely a year ago, and it was only on iOS. And only on iOS, it got a $10 million investment from Andreessen Horowitz. That's not huge. Then, thanks to a waiting list, it kind of grew at a moderate rate, but these were high-quality individuals, kind of a who's who of Silicon Valley. Yep, that's right. And then the thing goes to 2 million and 6 million just in 30 days, right at the beginning of the year, suddenly having a $1 billion valuation and a $100 million investment led by Andreessen Horowitz? Yes, that's exactly what I said. Look at the compression that's on here. It's amazing. And Android is still on the outside looking in or looking up at the trajectory that Apple and iOS is involving. Now, here's something else here. We know that Android on a global basis has got an awful lot of phones. And if this thing was to be on Android, I hope they're ready for this kind of scaling on the server base and they don't melt the servers, because Android on a global basis has quite the footprint. Ah, well, poor Android, but they'll get over it because there is a Clubhouse version coming for Android. I just hope the servers are ready to handle it. Thanks for watching the short clip. If you like that and would like to see the whole episode, you can find it right here. And for even more, subscribe to this channel right here.